really pleased to be able to speak on this bill because one of the things that I heard very loud and clearly from the residents of 5 Dock when I door-knocked them about a year ago was how disappointed they were that the branch for the Commonwealth Bank in 5 Dock had been closed. They were disappointed that they weren't going to be able to get their banking services, they weren't going to be able to get access to cash through ATMs, and there was real concern in the community there. And at the time, I wrote to Commonwealth Bank and conveyed the concerns of the residents. Unfortunately, the bank said that they would not be reinstating the branch, but that many of the services were going to be available through Australia Post. And I think this is part of steps that the Commonwealth Bank is taking to close down some of these branches, which I think is really disappointing. One of the things that they failed to do, however, was to provide an ATM in the local community that could service people who needed to get access to cash. And after much campaigning from the local community, we recently were able to get an ATM reinstated in 5 Dock. And I thought at the time that it was going to be well received, but I didn't realise how well received it was. So I have again gone door knocking in 5 Dock, and I happened to door knock the friendliest street in 5 Dock because all the residents were out on Tony's porch the day that I went, and they were chatting to each other. And one of the things that was raised was the fact that an ATM had been reinstated in 5 Dock, and Tony, who is in his late 80s, was particularly keen because he had become reliant on his wonderful neighbour, Jayton, in his 30s, to help him with online banking and having to do much of the payments online. But what Tony really wanted to be able to do was to access cash. And so I was really happy to meet with these residents and celebrate the reinstalment of the ATM in 5 Dock. And I think that small story about the residents in 5 Dock really indicates how important cash is for many people in our community. Whilst, of course, we are moving to more digital payments and online purchasing, for many in the community, cash is still critical for their purchases of essential items. So very pleased that the government has now said that they will be mandating cash for essential items while making sure that there are appropriate exemptions for small businesses. Because it is key that people like Tony and his mates in 5 Dock, that they can still purchase things with cash, especially essential items. And as we move towards more online and digital payment systems, one of the things that is really important here as well is to ensure that there is a mechanism for people to pay for things without it attracting a fee. And I'm really pleased to be able to join my colleague, Jerome Luxall, the member for Bennelong, in pushing a campaign to ensure that there is some form of payment, digital and online, that does not attract a fee. And we're not talking a couple of cents on your coffee in the morning. We are talking about extra dollars when you go and pay for your car rego or to buy a laptop for the kids. It adds up. These fees add up. And there has to be some form of payment that does not attract a fee. So I'm pleased that the RBA is doing an inquiry into these payments to see whether or not there needs to be a fee-free digital and online payment. And I know that the government has said that if the RBA are willing to go down this path, we will also be supporting that with legislation. And this is the important reform that is happening because we need to be able to pay for things without there either attracting a fee or being really hard to do so by paying for it with cash. And added to that, there is some reform that's happening within the New South Wales government to ensure that renters who have to pay their rent through an online mechanism are also not forced to pay an additional fee on top of that. So this is a really sensible step. It's about ensuring that cash remains in our economy and that there are better and easier forms of payment.